What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today I gotta talk about Star Wars. And I even happen to be wearing my Darth Vader shirt before I started recording this. It just so happens that as I was getting home today, I noticed that some big news had dropped, which is that EA, Electronic Arts, the current people who are the only ones allowed to make Star Wars game, have decided to cancel another giant Star Wars project. Now the reason this one hits particular nerve is because this one was something that was truly special. It was actually the last dying effort of Visceral Games. So let's rewind a tiny bit. Back in 2017, you may have heard some rumblings of the fact that EA was basically closing down a series of studios, and one of them happened to be Visceral Games, the creators of Dead Space. They're such talented artists who made games that were so spectacular. They managed to have good gameplay and no microtransactions that were super intrusive, other than Dead Space 3 being a little bit annoying. But we found out that what they were working on was secretly a single-player focused Star Wars adventure. It was supposedly going to be super epic, and it was being directed by Amy Hennig, one of the main people behind Uncharted. That means that this was going to be freaking Star Wars Uncharted. What more could you possibly want? Well, for some reason, Electronic Arts came in and shut them down, instantly firing everybody in the entire studio. But wait, this story gets worse. It turns out that what happened is that Electronic Arts wasn't happy with the idea that this was single player only. They even had a public statement at the time claiming that people don't like single player, that they want multiplayer stuff and microtransactions and loot crates and the kind of garbage that EA and Activision just eat up. Well, it turns out that when they canceled the game, they didn't completely give up on it. Instead, what they ended up doing was secretly taking the project and handing it off to another team, a different studio that, well, didn't get closed down. And the idea behind it was to try and widen its scope and make it a giant open-world Star Wars game. But here's the issue. Even that is now canceled. I'm trying not to yell, but right now I am actually quite frustrated. Now, the reason I'm so personally just pissed off by this is because we now know for a fact that what they'd actually done was taken all the art assets and a lot of the core ideas behind this great single-player focused game and tried to expand on it. This was going to basically be the last true single-player game ever in the Star Wars universe, maybe. And now, even that, the little crumbling dreams we had, have been ripped away from us. You know what's really crazy about Electronic Arts at this point? They have nearly canceled more games than they finished in the Star Wars universe. Now, even if you're somebody who doesn't particularly like the movies, which I really do, you still have to admire the fact that the Star Wars universe is spectacular. It's got basically really cool magic and a great political system as the Sith are fighting against the Jedi. There's so much really cool light and dark clashing against each other. Mechanics that all just seem ripe for the picking. I mean, honestly, from the outside, as somebody who just reviews video games, it seems like it would be so obvious and so easy to make good Star Wars games. But repeatedly, Electronic Arts just seems obsessed with screwing it up. They managed to butcher things like Battlefront. They managed to continually cancel or deform projects that seem like they have so much potential. I'm genuinely curious what they seem to have against Star Wars. You see, what's really kind of boiling in the back of my brain lately is what it's going to take for Disney to take the license away. You see, Mickey Mouse and his crew are people who seem very protective in general of their intellectual property. If you manage to get permission to have something that Disney owns, you gotta treat it right, or they usually take it back. But for some reason, Disney hasn't. Now, I will admit that behind the scenes, I'm actually not the biggest Disney fan, simply because they're so big that they're a little bit frightening. It seems like they have too much power. But in this one case, I definitely think that the House of Mouse needs to step in and stomp EA out. They suck. They don't understand or respect Star Wars whatsoever. Take the IP, make it so they don't have this license to continually try and print money with your characters. You know, that's just the most crazy part of this, is that Electronic Arts deep down does not give a shoot about you and I, the fans of Star Wars. They don't care about the Star Wars universe. They don't care about the Star Wars story. They only really care about making that Star Wars cash, milking the content. That's why we keep seeing crappy freaking Star Wars cell phone games and stuff, because they absolutely know that if they can just try and nickel and dime every single lover of this universe for every single penny they can. You know what? I think that this needs to come to an end. Electronic Arts, I feel like they're trying their best in certain avenues. I think they're trying to improve, but the people at the top do not freaking give a hoot. And that is what is really the most frustrating about it, and why I just have to do angry rants like this sometimes. Star Wars is an easy mode of content creation. Just go out there, give us some Yoda, chop up some clones, have some fun, maybe roll out some droids. We're not asking you to perfectly recreate the fun of every single movie. We're just asking you to make stuff. Begin a project, work on a project, and finish a freaking project. It doesn't need microtransactions, it just needs to be on store shelves and be decent enough that fans can be happy. There's games have gotten to the point where I would genuinely be thrilled if they just decided to occasionally release stuff that were like visual novels. Seriously, if I could just even have a decent choose-your-own-adventure storyline in this universe at this point, I would be thrilled. But it seems like Electronic Arts would never bother doing that because it's not going to make you an instant $1 billion. Thanks so much for watching this random angry rant. I know that when I wear a black shirt I look like just a floating head, but I just had to rant about this and I simply just got home. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming of a world with good Star Wars once again. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.